belong with me, and I belong with you. You belong with me, and I belong with you.
Hi everyone, I'm Danielle Wood, and here we are on our third mental health episode of Belonging Bite Size. This is bite number 3.
I'm Sophie Wood, and I'd also like to welcome you to bite number 3. So what are we going to be talking about today, Danielle?
Well, today, Sophie, we are talking about how we can address the stigma that surrounds mental health and the effect that that can have on people. So where do you want to start on that subject?
Well, stigma refers to negative attitudes and beliefs that people hold around mental health issues. And this can lead to quite often discrimination and even social exclusion. And it often prevents individuals from actively seeking the help that they need. So stigma can make people feel ashamed, isolated, and misunderstood. So consider the way language around mental health has developed over the centuries. We've got literally hundreds of years of negative language that have developed around the lower end of mental health. So a good example of that is if you take a mental health institution from the Victorian times, which was the Bedlam mental health asylum. The word Bedlam has come to mean in our everyday language kind of chaos, madness, and those negative terms generate fear and generate negative thoughts in people. And because society as a whole tends to be fairly ignorant around what mental health is and what mental health issues are, then quite often that ignorance leaves a space in the brain that is easily filled up with these negative concepts, which, as I say, create this kind of fear and sometimes hatred. And that's just not very helpful at all. So when we talk about combating stigma, we're really, it's a really big challenge for us to kind of turn the tide of these negative concepts that people generally have in their heads around some of these kind of mental health issues, such as people with symptoms of psychosis. So another good example to talk about here is consider how film and TV representations of people who experience psychosis play out. We've all seen so many crime dramas on TV, so many kind of films which center around a killer or even a serial killer. Quite often they are kind of linked to mental health conditions such as schizophrenia, which is really unhelpful because it perpetuates a myth that's just not true.
Those are powerful examples, Sophie. I mean, stigma affects not just the individuals experiencing mental health challenges, but it also affects their families, their friends, their colleagues. And it creates barriers to accessing the right care and support, which can, in the long term, worsen the individual's mental health condition. So, another historical example of how women were often committed to mental institutions by their husbands for expressing emotions or behaviors that were deemed unacceptable, often without any real understanding or diagnosis of a mental health condition. Today we might just recognize that as being menopausal. That's me right now. Or perhaps as they got older, they grew in confidence and were a bit more challenging and a bit more assertive.
Yeah, and I think the good news is that that tide I was talking about is starting to turn. But it's important to realize that we've only started talking about mental health in a kind of more informed and healthy way in recent history. So some of the examples that we've just cited really encapsulate the way people have considered, mental ill health over the last few hundred years. But another way that stigma persists is through other common myths and misconceptions. So, for example, a common myth is that mental health issues are a sign of weakness, or that people can just snap out of it. And another misconception is that mental health problems just aren't real, and they're not as serious as, say, physical health problems. And this kind of confusion often stems simply from just not understanding the difference between mental health, as we've been talking about it on our bite-sized little snippets, and mental ill health. So just to re-emphasize, everyone has mental health, just like everyone has physical health, but not everyone has mental illness or mental ill health.
Great. Thanks, Sophie. Yes, these myths are quite harmful because they minimize the experiences of those dealing with mental health issues. And they, again, as I said, discourage them from seeking help. So it's important that we challenge these misconceptions with accurate information. You know, mental health conditions are real and they require the proper treatment and support, just like our physical health conditions.
Yeah. So how can we reduce stigma in the workplace? So one effective strategy is through education. So providing employees with accurate information around mental health can help dispel these myths and these attitudes that we've spoken of. And this can be done through various different ways. So training sessions, workshops, distributing educational materials, and having people tell their stories so that they can make those connections with other people in the organization. That can be very, very powerful.
Yes, I think that leading by example is really important. You know, when leaders and managers talk openly about mental health and share their own experiences, it can create a more accepting and supportive workplace culture. And it shows employees that it's okay. It's okay to discuss mental health issues and seek help.
Absolutely. And encouraging open conversations around mental health is absolutely crucial. So creating a safe space where people feel comfortable discussing their mental health without fear of judgment or repercussions can make such a huge difference. And it's not difficult. I mean, this can be facilitated by just regular check-ins, informal. You can hold mental health awareness events and also create peer support programs where people can show up for each other, quite literally.
Yes, and if you haven't done it already, implementing policies that support mental health can help reduce stigma. This includes providing access to mental health resources, offering flexible working arrangements, and ensuring that mental health is included in the company's overall wellness programs.
Yeah. So to recap, stigma around mental health is not very helpful at all, and it can have serious negative effects and impacts on individuals and therefore also the workplace. So by educating ourselves, leading by example, encouraging more open conversations, implementing supportive policies, we can all reduce that stigma and create a more inclusive and supportive environment in which to work.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us today. In our next session, we'll discuss how to recognise the signs and symptoms of mental health issues in the workplace.
Excellent. So between now and next time, don't forget, you can pop your comments or questions below. DM us if you prefer. And if you want to find out more about us, visit our website, which is down here, www.belongitbase.com. So thanks for coming. Thanks for listening. And until next time, goodbye.
To answer for, 'cause you belong with me.